Hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to our first episode of our very first season of Steph Says, a podcast where we have intentional conversations with influential and interesting people. I'm your host, Stephanie Tharp. Hi, how you doing? And I'm so excited to share with you a conversation that I had with Bishop T.D. Jakes on the state of leadership in our country. And speaking of leadership, there are over 45,000 leaders currently employed in the United States. 50.2% of all leaders are women, while 49.8% are men. The average age of an employed leader is around 46 years old. The most common ethnicity of leaders are white at 65.1%, followed by Hispanic or Latino leaders at 16.6%, and Black or African American leaders at 11.3%. What do these numbers tell you guys? For me, they represent a askew. We, my generation, millennials and Gen Z, are the up and coming. We are not reflected fully in leadership. And in this conversation with Bishop Jakes, we talk about how younger people, especially young people of color, are able to acquire the skills needed to really step into those leadership roles. And I'm really excited to share this fruitful conversation with you all. So please enjoy this interview. Enjoy this conversation and tune in for episode 2, where we will have another incredible time with another incredible guest. Thanks, guys, and don't forget, tune in. To kind of give a backstory, I was perusing through a bookstore with my mother, and I came across your book, Don't Drop the Mic, and I just was like, I'm gonna pick this up. I love Bishop T.D. Jakes' work. And it turned out to be so impactful. Literally, I read it in 3 days. And as soon as I read it, I was like, how do I get the bishop on the phone to talk to him about this book?
First of all, if you can see me, I'm grinning, and there's nothing an author wants to hear any more than that their book was impactful. So,
Yes.
I'm getting reports from people all around the country and even outside of the U.S. that are saying that it blesses them, but I still haven't gotten used to it. Every time I hear it, I start smiling. Because it was, to be honest with you, it evolved while we were working on it. It started out about the black preaching and its historical ancestral roots, and then it evolved into the national dialogue and what was going on in the country and tribalism and how it was undermining our ability to be able to hear each other, and right down into corporations better understanding their need to have diversity, inclusion, and equity on all levels of life in order to make the kinds of decisions that fit the changing demographics of America.
It's one thing sometimes when you have literature written by, pastors or spiritual or religious figures. Sometimes, especially as a young millennial, you can kind of feel detached from that. We know the Bible is full of parables and a lot of metaphorical things. This book is very practical, and it is something that can be applied in your everyday life. And I love how you use scripture to kind of supplement that practicality. Why is communication so important? Why is implementing better communication so important in building a successful career and personal life?
Well, I have been described as a serial entrepreneur when I'm not being described as a preacher. And that I only bring that up to say that what that has caused me to do is to be able to communicate on a lot of different platforms and stages, whether it is being involved in entertainment or whether it is negotiating opportunities for ex-offenders returning back into the populace, or whether it is in a pulpit, or whether it is sitting on the board of the Dallas Symphony or the Dallas Regional Chamber of Commerce. they're all speaking English, but they're all different languages.
Right.
And learning the ability to communicate with the widest array of people creates the widest array of opportunities.
Right. And I love that you said that, because you have a type of what I call like a social ambiguity. Like you're like socially fluid. You can kind of move in and out of spaces, transcend political lines. And you've had some of these conversations with some of the world's biggest leaders, billionaires, entertainers, and no matter who you talk to, everybody has such reverence for you. And I think that speaks to who you are as an orator. With you being such a great orator and communicator, what does it mean in your view to be a great communicator?
I think great communication begins with great listening.
Mm.
Oddly enough, if we lose our ability to hear naturally, if we lose our audibility, we also lose our linguistical ability to articulate to the same proportion, though we still have all the apparatus in place. Mm-hmm. It is our hearing that informs our speaking. And so I'm a great listener. I'm a lifelong learner. I've never forsaken being a student at the price of being a teacher. That is to say, while I was teaching, I was still learning. Mm. And I think when you stop learning, you stop living. And so, 50% of my church is millennials. 50% of my church are men. Mm. And both of them are contradictory to the stats, the latest Barna stats that have been released. My church is everything that the stats say shouldn't be happening. Men in massive proportions, and millennials embracing faith. And I think that it is because I relate to their entrepreneurial passion. I relate to the sense of creativity. I understand the importance of STEM and STEAM programs, so I started a foundation that focuses on job placement, job creation, helping companies to have diversity, but also we do summer camps for kids with STEM and STEAM programs so underserved communities can be able to have the skills that are necessary for the future. I began to realize that my platform has a responsibility to be an instrument to help society navigate through the troubled times that we're living in now. Mm. That's a long answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's a great answer. You can never speak too long for me. I love this. Speaking of, you're talking about your church's 50% millennials. I know we get a bad rap, but that's actually very great. I was going to point out that a lot of the work.
Bad rap to me. Let me interrupt you. You don't get a bad rap to me because, first of all, you're our children. Mm-hmm. And how can the parent blame the child when whatever you are, good or bad, we participated in it.
Right.
And might I also add, it was just yesterday that our parents were looking at us and saying, "Oh gosh, what have we done?"
Oh my goodness.
That happens every generation. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's just because the world is changing. Mm-hmm. And people change to meet those needs. So I think the reason I have so much millennials is that I don't see them as lost. I do think that there are things that they need to hear from us that will be helpful. And one of the things that I try to tackle in the book is being, don't drop the mic. It is about keeping communication going, not just racially or socially, but generationally. Mm. There are things that I learned from my son And there are things that my son learns from me. And both of us have become better because of it. There are things I learned from my daughter. She just finished a conference here, Woman Evolve. And her approach to Woman Evolve is totally different, but similar to what I did with Woman Dial Loose. It's just her flavor of it, her version of it, her generation's expression of it. And I think that if any business is going to be viable today, they have to think about the diversity of their customer base.
Right.
Whether it's a business or a church or a hotel or a restaurant, you can't just serve what you like. You have to serve what other people like. And so that means you have to listen, have your ear to the ground. And many CEOs today are in trouble because they never leave the golf course, the boardroom, and the country club to hear their what their customer wants. Mm-hmm. And consequently, they end up spending a lot of money in damage control and PR statements trying to rectify issues that could have been avoided by adding more diversity, because we are a nation of many tribes.
Right. Communication is not just, it's transgenerational, and sometimes, especially in the Black community, that can get kind of lost. One thing that I definitely wanted to point out, a lot of the work that you do is about cultivating the next generation. And I will say, I know my mother, she's been reading your books for years, but there's one particular moment that I remember growing up that when I for myself was like, who is this? And then my mom was like, that's Bishop T.D. Jakes. We see him all the time. And I'm like, oh, okay. You did a talk with Oprah Winfrey, and you said something that has stuck with me throughout my whole life. And you did this presentation with an apple, and I'm probably paraphrasing it, but you talked about peeling back the skin of an apple and realizing that it's an orchard, because the seeds are what's on the inside. And I don't know, it was something about that demonstration. I was like, man, that is really powerful. Like, there's literally so much potential within all of us. And that's something that I think still holds true, which I'm happy to see, like, the evolution of my relationship that I have with you from viewing, that kind of still holding true. And I wanted to know, what advice would you give young Black professionals and entrepreneurs with identifying their potential within themselves?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a question that defies the ability to do a soundbite. I think, first of all, there are two things that help us to find our purpose in life. One is to follow our passion, what we are passionate about. Let me say three things. The second is to find what you can't stand, what bothers you the most, because it bothers you because you have the power to change it. It wouldn't bother you if you weren't gifted to be a part of the fix that's needed there. And the third one is build your life as a solution to someone's problem, and you'll never have to spend a lot of money on marketing, because everybody's looking for answers. So finding out what you care about, what you can't stand to see undone, and thirdly, how does that fix something for somebody? Because if it fixes something for somebody, if it provides child care for single mothers, if it provides a safe haven for women who are dealing with domestic violence, if it provides groceries in food deserts, if it provides diversity in the workplace, then you become a solution. And you have to figure out what problems does your gifting solve, and then build your business around that problem, and you will always be successful.
Speaking of you giving that advice, your foundation, the TD Jakes Foundation, you guys have a program called STEAM. If you don't mind expounding a little bit on that, and what has been the impact that you and your team has seen in the Dallas area from these efforts?
Well, first of all, the current stats suggest that if underserved communities don't become more involved with science, technology, engineering, and math, the jobs of the future will cause them to fall beneath the poverty line because they're not prepared for those jobs. A practical example is you can't go in a grocery store today in America and not run into more and more self-checkout lines. Mm-hmm. And every time you check yourself out, that's a job that went away. So technology is taking those jobs. Technology is preparing to take over trucking. Technology is taking over delivery services. Restaurants are finding out they don't need to be as big because people are using takeout services through apps, and all of those are warning signs that the overall topography of job opportunities is transitioning. And what we have to struggle to do is to get our children prepared for the world that they will live in, rather than training them for the world that we lived in. Mm. And so our program is dedicated to that. Footnote: the reason we added the arts to it is that all other recent data that is coming out about STEM programs have proven that when you add the arts to it, the arts is a gateway to engage a broader audience into technology. Maybe people aren't interested in technology, but they're interested in music. But if you're going to produce the music, and if you're going to produce the music in a way that is usable, you have to have technology. If you're gonna market it, you have to become involved with technology, and so it becomes a gateway into the science and the technology, the engineering and math. You can't do business and not do math, and so the arts becomes the gateway that gets a broader audience connected and interested into how STEM affects their daily life. So, in short, the future suggests that we're going to have an increasingly large base of people, low-income people, and we're going to see a continual erosion of the middle class if we don't convert our teaching methods to include STEM and STEAM programs for the future. So I want to work on that, and it has been a very powerful experience because we've had several companies who have come alongside of us to partner with us. Many Texas Instruments, Microsoft, many other companies have come alongside of us to help to facilitate that. In our own church, for example, we use a lot of technology in order to do our dramatizations for our plays and what have you, right down to how we engage our audience. This past Sunday, we had almost 70, it was really 68,000 people viewing us online. So there were 10 times as many people watching us online as there were in the building. Right. And so if you're going to keep up, and if you're going to reach your potential and find that orchard in that apple, technology is the way to get there.
Okay. I definitely do understand that. When I went to Florida A&M University, and I wanted to major in journalism. Ironically, this is what I do now, but my dad pushed me to get a degree in mathematics, which I did. So I think it's really important to have like a skill in like the technologies, and you can pursue your passions also, but it's great to have that foundation.
Absolutely. Your dad was smart. He was smart because you have something to fall back on.
Yep.
And as the world changes, you will always be marketable because of the choices that you made as a young girl to be marketable for the future. And that's very, very important.
Yes, it was hard, but I definitely had to honor thy parents. It sure was a struggle, though, at the time.
Yes, I get it. I do get it. There's a dire need, for example, in the medical system for more nurses and more doctors and more diversity. And this current pandemic has taught us the importance of science. There would be a lot more people dead right now if it were not for science. And every hospital I know is begging for more people who are prepared to help fight these biological warfares that we're having through pandemics that will continue to come. And they have always been there. From the time I was a child, the big thing was polio. And so this is not new. And we keep finding ourselves in positions where we're having to outthink nature's propensity to release diseases and viruses for which our body's immune system is not prepared to respond to.
You've given me a lot of nice little quotes here. I love this. In the book, you talk about how to use silence as a form of communication. What is the power of silence as it relates to that?
Silence is a way that you respect the audience enough to recognize that they can process in their own mind what you meant. Comedians used it. Preachers use it. It happens a lot because in writing a script, if the script is too wordy, you over-inform the viewer and thereby insult their intelligence not to be able to draw a conclusion by the visuals that they see in front of them. And every communication is not verbal communication. There's a stare the mother gives a 3-year-old that lets the 3-year-old know that she's not happy. She doesn't have to say, I'm not happy. She does it through a silent communication. Denzel Washington, to me, one of the greatest actors of our era, can deliver a scene without having any words in the script at all. Great acting doesn't always require a lot of verbiage in order to deliver the impact of a scene. It can be done through an expression.
Right.
And so when you start talking about communication is not always verbal. There's body language. There's facial expression. We talk with our hands. Everything, it doesn't have to be audible in order to be heard and in order to be understood.
I kind of want to backtrack a little bit about some of your philanthropic work through your foundation. You also, which I thought was very interesting, through the T.D. Jakes Real Estate Ventures LLC, you guys have acquired or purchased land on the former Fort McPherson Army base in Atlanta. And I just always thought that that's where Tyler Perry Studios was, but you guys are building a multi-socioeconomic living community there. I think that is very interesting. Can you speak on how did that come about, and what is the significance of you building a community for our people on a particular plot of land that didn't always have a positive impact on us historically?
Well, first of all, I wanted to reduce the impact of gentrification by multifamily mixed-use facilities on a land site that is adjacent to Tyler Perry Studios and right down the street from Google and Microsoft. So those are three major economic engines that are going to hire people. Those people need places to stay. and creating mixed income gives the best results. Low income housing has proven not to be effective because with little children who are raised around low income, if that's all they see, that's all they can be.
Right.
But when you put them in mixed income environments, they live down the street from somebody who's a doctor, or up the street from somebody who's a pilot, or around the corner from somebody who is a geneticist. And all of that helps them to increase the range of their exposure. And so TDJ Rev is building communities on the 95 acres of land in Atlanta. We're in the final stages of closing that deal to provide that for that community. But we're also working in Dallas and many other major cities around the country to duplicate similar communities to provide a chance for upward mobility for the coming generations, for single mothers, for workforce housing. Most people can't afford to live in the cities they work in. Our first responders, from police officers to nurses to admins to secretaries, are having to drive further and further away to get to work in the morning. And so even if they make more money, they spend more money if we don't provide adequate housing in our cities and even in our rural areas to accommodate those needs. So TDJ Rev is a real estate ventures company. That's what the Rev stands for, Real Estate Ventures, to provide real estate ventures for mixed income needs and slow down gentrification and introduce opportunities for live, work, and play spaces for average American citizens.
Okay. Yes, I absolutely love that. When it opens up, please let me be one of the first people to get dibs on a house there.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yes, because these rent prices in Florida are no joke.
They're going up higher. It costs more to rent now
yes.
than it does to pay a mortgage.
Exactly.
And it's simply because we don't have down payments. So I have been working with CEOs from different banks who are starting to provide mortgages for people without down payments. And getting the word out to our community is very important, that our first-time homeowners don't always have to pay 20% down in order to acquire a loan.
Right.
And I want to use the 20 million plus people who follow us on social media as a way to disseminate information to people who are uninformed that these opportunities exist for them to acquire housing or cars or whatever they need in order to be able to function.
Right. Right. Everybody in my family went to an HBCU. My Nana is a civil rights activist. So these kind of things, like seeing my community and seeing leaders within our community actually stepping up, which is something that you're doing, and which I totally, I'm singing you all your praises, not because I'm, trying to be that way. I honestly believe like all of this is just absolutely amazing in the work that you're doing. One thing that I read in the book that I did not know, this is kind of a side note, is that you are a baker and that you know how to bake pies and cakes extremely well. So I'm just using this small moment to place my order in for the holiday. For the holiday. And my very last question is, Bishop Jakes, like I said before, you have been so impactful in my life, and I know in the lives of your congregation and many others whom will have this opportunity to speak with you. What is the legacy that you envision or that you want to leave on this world?
I think that I'm probably best known as an orator. But the legacy that I want to leave is to see those words made flesh through the communities that we're building and through the foundation that we have, providing wraparound services, returning citizens, of which we have had 30,000 have gone through our Texas Offenders Reentry Initiative to reenter back into society with one of the lowest rates of recidivism in the country. Those programs where what I say becomes what I do. Those things are legacy pieces for me. Long after I'm gone, those communities will still be standing. Those young people will still be working. Those families will still be established. And I want to be a contributor, one amongst many, I might add. There are many people that are doing it, but I want to be one amongst many that are doing it. And then it is no small message that someone like Tyler Perry could work alongside a T.D. Jakes, begins to model how minorities can come together and do things together that we couldn't do as effectively apart. And we're seeing more and more examples of influencers coming together and forming corporations and going after things that we could not do individually. And though Tyler and I are not partners in this deal, we are neighbors in the deal. And that makes it makes a model, it makes a statement about that we're better together than we are apart, number one. And number two, that we might be the people that we've been waiting on. That we don't necessarily have to sit around and wait on somebody to come save us, that we can put our resources together and bring about massive, quantifiable change just by working together. I think all of those are great legacy pieces to leave a model in the earth for the next generation, which has a tendency to want to work in silos and to do solos rather than to create unified corporate vision and effort and work together through partnerships to make the world a better place.
Perfect. Well, those were all the questions that I had. I just want to thank you.
Partnering with Lifetime to do an anthology on the 7 deadly sins.
Ooh.
And we're getting ready to start filming two more films for Lifetime. And we just entered into an agreement with Lionsgate to produce a film that also reflects social justice on screen. And so using our platform to propagate more conversation and more dialogue and more visuals about life, about character, about family, about the human family and how we interact with each other is one of the objectives of why I want to continue to do film and to do television.
Oh, that's wonderful! I cannot wait to see those things. That's great. Oh wow, I did not know that. Well, the world will know now. I'm excited.
Lust and Envy have already been put out on Lifetime, and you probably can get them on Hulu or Netflix and check them out. And now we're working on Wrath and Jealousy as our next deposits for Lifetime.
Perfect. Well, I'll definitely go back and watch the first two and then make sure I'm geared up for the next two. That's great. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, guys. Tune in next Thursday to find out who I'm having a conversation with next.